Welcome, everybody, to the Tea with Ms McGill Show, presented by Fortune Bay Resort and Casino. It is Puka speaking. It is the star of the show, Reed Larson. Thank you for joining us, the fastest growing hockey podcast in the US of A. We mentioned a couple of weeks ago, or a couple episodes ago, that we were looking to get over 600 subscribers. We blew past that. So we're on to 700. Just some recent followers: Brett Gaddy, Xander F, and Chisholm boy Tim Pauline.
Hey,
so be just like them.
Yeah.
And subscribe, like, hit the thumbs up, whatever you got to do, depending upon which platform that you're consuming us with. So episode 68, we're going to do a preseason episode here. We're going to kind of cover section 7AA and section 7A and kind of go through some preseason polls and such. So how you doing? Football's over.
Yeah, you know what? It's been a hard shift, but the warm weather went away and it went away abruptly. We still don't have any snow yet, so it doesn't quite feel like that winter is here, but we are definitely into the hockey season with the start of high school boys hockey starting on Monday, girls a couple of weeks ago. We're well into the swing of things. So hockey is the smell of the air. And I'm not talking just about the smell of their equipment. I'm talking about it smells like hockey all around.
And so you're back on the staff with the Thunderhawks. What's the tempo like so far? A few days in.
It's good. It's good. It's actually really good. It was an awesome couple of years being able to work with Coach G.O.A.T, and we're lucky to say that Coach G.O.A.T is going to be back as an assistant this year as well too. But Grant Clapton taking over the staff as the head coach. And anybody that knows Grant Clapton knows how he coaches and his style, and it's the expectations are high. The attention to detail is there on a daily basis, and he gets the most out of his kids. I'm really excited to be back on that staff.
Awesome. All right, let's get into it. First off, Fortune Bay Resort and Casino. Make plans today to visit Fortune Bay Resort and Casino on beautiful Lake Vermilion. Fortune Bay has 172 rooms in a smoke-free resort environment. They have an indoor pool, full-service marina, RV park, of course, world-class golf, which we've talked about, several dining options, bar and 24/7 gaming. Visit fortunebay.com for more details and plan your next trip to Fortune Bay today. All right, so season kicks off a week from today. We're recording on Wednesday, and we're going to kind of go through some of the two section 7A and section 7AA. Let's start with section 7AA. Of course, some changes this year coming in. So here's your teams in alphabetical order: Andover, Anoka, Cambridge Isanti, a move up from A; Duluth Denfeld, a move up from A; Duluth East, Forest Lake, Grand Rapids, Duluth Marshall, Northern Edge, and of course Rock Ridge, which is another move up from single A. So if you had to kind of put like a top, let's go down, like narrow it down to the top four to save some time. What would you, I guess maybe start with 4 and go to 1. Who you got at 4?
Well, actually, so I'm gonna do it like this. We'll say 4 spots, but I'm actually gonna throw kind of an honorable mention to the 4 spot there. I think Rock Ridge is right in the mix, to be honest with you. This is a few years of coaching high school hockey, but before into high school hockey at Rapids, I was the Bantam AA coach back in 2021. And just remember this group of seniors that we have playing for us right now, playing against just the Virginia team back when they were just Virginia. Their A team, 3 seasons ago, took us into overtime. We actually had to tie the game up at the end of the game against Virginia and then win it in overtime. And now add on a few years later, Coach Johnson getting to do what he does with those kids for the last couple of years, and add in Evelyn to the mix in the side.
Add that Bantam core, the good Bantam team from last year.
Add those guys into the mix. They're gonna be good. They're, to me, just because of the unknown of them not playing AA, I can't foresee putting them in higher than a 4 spot, but they're gonna be good. So I would say in that number 4 spot, just in preseason in my mind, is gonna be a Rock Ridge. But I do want to put an honorable mention in there as kind of not necessarily a tie at the 4 spot, but I think that's going to be a force to be reckoned with, is a Duluth Marshall. I don't think that they've had, the squads the last couple of years, but they got some class kids coming in that were part of that Duluth East AA Bantam team last year, and a good core of some of their better players were Duluth Marshall kids at the time going to Duluth Marshall as ninth graders playing East AA Bantams last year. Some of those kids are now still at Marshall playing. So some of those good kids, instead of filtering into the East program, some of those good kids filtered into the Marshall program. So I'm going to put them in the mix, but I can't slide them up yet. But so Rock Ridge and Marshall kind of at the 4 spot.
Okay. Number 3.
Yeah. Number 3, I think 2 and 3 are kind of, stick them in a hat and mix it up, because there's just some stuff so let's talk about 2 and 3 together. Let's talk about Rapids and Duluth East together being either 2 or 3. In my mind, they're different teams, right? They're different. It's different being coached. Right now, you can't predict how that Rapids team is going to be, because they got a new coach at the helm, right? Potosha going into his 3rd year, still developing his program the way he wants it to be. It's hard to say this Rapids is going to be 3 and East is going to be 2, or East is going to be 3 and Rapids is going to be 2, just because you have to see how things are going to develop with Coach Clafton at the helm. But there are some things about these 2 teams that I can talk about. So first, let's talk about Duluth East. Duluth East has 4 or 5 forwards that can put the puck in the net.
And they showed that last year.
Thomas Gunderson being one of them. He's a heck of a player. There's a couple other guys in there too, and I don't want to name them all because I don't want to miss anybody. But I know Tommy Gunderson is one of the guys that played on that elite league team for Coach Clafton, and is a stellar player. They've got guys that can put the puck in the net. I think that when I go in the contrast and talk about Rapids, I don't think they're as strong on the back end, and I think I'm sure they've got a good goalie, but they don't have the goaltending situation that Rapids has right now. So it's kind of a flip-flop. They've got some offense to talk about, and then on the back end, not as much in my mind. But then when you look at Rapids is got a core that naturally has struggled scoring goals up front, but the strength in Rapids' program right now is defense. They've got 2 returning defensemen that played a lot of minutes for them last year, and Bauer Murphy, as well as Luka Roloff. And those guys are going to be some high-end defensive making plays on the back end, as well as being tough defenders. That's going to be the strength, is that D-core. And the other strength is what I like to call the goaltender factory right now. It's Carl East said it best when I read his forum here not too long ago, that they've got Rapids is back at it again with the goaltending factory. You can go back to talking about Hunter Shepard, who we'll talk about a little bit, and your Zach Staskels that came through the program. Well, even
Holm
and Gabe Holm. Yeah, the goaltender factor is back at it. There's another, and I'm not even going to name names right now. There's a bunch of goalies right now at the high school program that all are creating great competition right now for the goaltending spot at Rapids, and that is a huge strength.
Okay, awesome. All right, and then number 1, I guess kind of probably no surprise.
Yeah, you know what? It's going to be hard for me to not put them in a preseason number 1 spot, just because, hey, when you've been to the state tournament as a Section 7 representative 5 years in a row or whatever it is, something like that, put it in the comments if you know. But they've been the number 1 team coming for representing Section 7, which I hate to say that, because Section 7 is always supposed to be the Northern team, and it's been a North Metro team representing the last few years in a row. So, but they have, and it's hard to take them out of that spot. They do have some stud players that are back. They've got Stringfellow back on the point. They've got Cogswell up front. They've got Ben Dahl up front. They've got a few other guys to talk about too, and a few that came from Bantams that aren't going to be half bad. I don't think that they have the level of bang power up front, the high end that they've had the last few years with Thorson and some of these other guys that played for them before. But I'm not going to discount the guys they do have. They're going to be good, and they're going to compete for a section championship again at the end of the year. They're going to be right there. So like I said, that's kind of my lineup, and that's kind of my thought process. I hope other teams can say, well, how come you didn't put us in that spot? And I'll be the first one to say, then prove it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, so not Hillary, let me say, Duluth Marshall, kind of the X factor there. And when I was looking at it, that was the same thing. Like, who do they got? Knowing that East did have that, because I heard some guys went there, and of course East had a good Bantam AA team last year. So yeah, so a young crop of talent. All right. Before we get into our 7A rundown. We want to tell you about our friends over at the Rink Sports Bar and Grill in Eveleth, just down from the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, full bar, full menu. Still have their Friday fish fry, daily specials, hockey themed establishment. We've talked about that. 248-8582 if you want to order ahead. Give Michelle a call. Of course, they have the breakout rooms for any functions, so banquets, that kind of thing. Of course, I think most fall sport banquets are over, but if you're still looking for a place to do your fall sport banquet, give the Rink Sports Bar and Grill a try, and you can check out their menu at the rinksportsbarandgrill.com. All right, so let's go back to our section 7A competitors. So here's the squads. Hermantown, Cloquet, Hibbing, Proctor, International Falls, Greenway, North Shore, Ely, and Moose Lake. So we're looking at it. We thought we were able to find a poll online. So they've got Proctor at number 4. What can we expect from Proctor?
Well, Proctor, you can expect a lights out goaltender. That is going to be the meat and potatoes of their team. Obviously, we'll touch on that a little bit later too, but you got AJ Routs in the nets. And when you got, they're going to be a little slower start at the beginning of the season. I know he's kind of nursing some bumps and bruises from playing preseason stuff, juniors, whatever he was doing here before the season started. And I know he's nursing some things as the season starts, but when he gets into his groove, AJ Routs is gonna lead that team to some pretty interesting games because he's going to stop a lot of shots.
Yeah,
there's going to be some 50 save games that he has to make. They do have a couple players though. Just to name a couple, they've got Tanner Ross is a heck of a player that they've got there up front. A short little buzzy guy that they got up there that's really kind of quick and fast, a little Bryant guy that can play. They've got another guy on the back end, and I don't want to say names wrong, so I'm not going to say it. They've got a couple defensemen back there that are decent. This, in my mind, just in watching Proctor for the last few years kind of dig out of the cellar a little bit, this is probably going to be one of the better Proctor teams that we've seen in a long time.
Okay, yeah, they're bringing back 7 of their top 9 scorers. And Riles just a recent sign from Lindenwood recruit. So congratulations, Iron Range Goalie Academy product, by the way.
Yes. And when we were talking about the goalie factory that Rapids has too, as well as that's a product of Iron Range Goalie Academy. That's 100% true. And Derek, you can take your little pat on the back as well.
Well, and it seems, Riles, when I started looking at this, I'm like, he seems like he's been around forever. Like I was surprised he didn't graduate already. I thought he was a graduate last year. He was like, holy cow, he's already logged a lot of minutes, played a lot of games.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's going to scare teams in the net. If you don't make plays to the net, if you don't take eyeballs away from AJ Routs, if you don't move puck side to side in front of the net to get him moving, he will stop what he can see. And he's done it before. I watched him my first year coaching in Rapids as a JV coach. He was playing in the JV net because there was a 3 goalie rotation going on. And that night he needed to be in the JV net. And the group of seniors that we have right now, a few of them were playing on the JV that year, like your Miller and Garski and Forrest. Those guys were playing. I think we had in that JV game, I think we had 50 some shots on them and then we won 2-1.
Oh, okay.
So it's like he's going to make games interesting. For sure. That I see them in that 4 spot, and that is again, I'm gonna get a hug from my wife because she's a Proctor alum. So she's gonna be happy. She'll be singing the school song when I get home and she hears the podcast tonight. But again, this is gonna be one of the better Proctor teams I've seen in a while.
Awesome. All right, coming in at 3rd, Hibbing, which again, looking back doing some research, 6th in the final Hockey Hub poll, regular season poll last year, all the way up to 6. Of course, they kind of brought Hermantown to the brink last year, be led by Edmonds, McHugh, and Gabarty. What do you got on Hibbing?
You know what? I kind of look at the 2-3 spot here too, as I have a hard time right out of the gate putting Hibbing at 2. But at the same time, I don't want to just say just because Cloquet, Esco Carleton came from AA and is back in single A. Now they're down a class that they should automatically be number 2. Like, yeah, I think that's the way it should start for a minute, but Hibbing lost a bunch of guys to graduation last year, but remember, they just gained a whole slew of guys from a Bantam team that just won the state championship, who also won a Pee Wee state championship 2 years before that. There is a slew of players coming up that are very talented, but they're going to need some time to get into Coach Rewerts' style and focus and how he wants to do things. So it might come out a little bit like a building program, but I'll tell you what, I would not be surprised to see Hibbing playing in a section final at the end of the year against Hermantown. I really wouldn't. Cloquet, they're going to be in the same situation where, yeah, I think people are going to give that program a lot of respect because they've had a AA schedule for a long time, and Shea Walters does a really good job with that team. And they're going to be good at the end of the year, but I don't just want to say, yeah, well, they were AA, so they should be number 2 or number 1. No, Hibbing's going to compete. They're going to be good. And I always like to say this, even in Shea Walters is a Hibbing guy, so maybe he'll be happy that I'm going to give the range teams a lot of pump when it comes to this stuff. 100%.
Well, yeah, Cloquet coming off a 15-win season last year, like you said, senior Joe Antonucci, is that Antonucci? Okay.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Goals, 15 goals. Carson Young, Kyle Young's kid coming back on D. I think he's only a junior. So they got some players too.
They do. They've got some jam, they got some speed, and they play the way Coach Walters wants them to play. They go at it, and they got a little attitude to them. Well, they put a chip on their shoulder, just like he did, and I love it.
Okay. All right, then the perennial power, 12 of the last 13 Section 7A titles. Of course, Greenway snuck that one in there. Congratulations, Grant, a couple of years ago. The Hermantown Hawks. One thing I did hear, Penn State commit Dallas View may not be returning. I talked to a family member this a week, and of course that will change things if that's the case. Yeah,
and I think there's still time, right? I don't think that he has to be there right now. I think there still is a window where if he comes back, he can play. It's been back and forth in what I'm hearing through different circles of people talking about it. I think if you asked Coach Pat Andrews, he would still think, well, he's still got a chance to come home. So I'm not going to say he's not coming back. I wouldn't be surprised to see him come back, to be honest with you. But if he chooses not to, then wish the kid well and continue on to junior career. I know he's doing a phenomenal job right now playing the teams that the team that he's playing on. And has a big role there. So I'm sure it's difficult to leave. I'm sure there's pressure to stay from the organization, as well as Penn State, I'm sure. But you also, I don't care where you're from. You've got a lot of pride in that high school jersey that you wear, especially if you played in Hermantown. You're pretty happy to come home and put that on and represent, and with a 90% chance you're probably going to be at another state tournament. Right. So at any rate, I don't think that there's any questioning that Hermantown is going to represent that section again. I sure hope that somebody tells me at the end of the year, Larson, you need to eat crow because we beat Hermantown in the section finals. Like, nobody expected that was going to happen back in 2019, except for the 20 guys and 4 coaches in that locker room in Greenway. Those guys talked about it from day one. That was their goal all year long, was to get to that game and to beat Hermantown, and they did it, but nobody else in the state expected them to do it. And I think that's going to be the case for anyone else here that's playing in this section. Is everyone's going to assume Hermantown is in that situation. But if you want to be that team there, then you need 20 guys to buy in that locker room, and you need a coaching staff to make sure they're talking about it from day one, because you got to believe or you're not going to have a chance. Well, I talked to a parent, Cloquet parent, a dad of a player, and he said, I like our chances against Cloquet this year. He said he's happy that they've got to go. They'd rather go through Hermantown than try to go through Andover. And of course, Cloquet Hermantown, I'm assuming, is a pretty big rivalry, isn't it? I mean, the town. Yeah, I'm sure it is. So those rivalry games, you just never know which way they're going to go. Well, and like you said, there's Coach Pat Andrews has been coaching for a while. I think he's in his 6th or 7th year coaching. I think Coach Shea Walters is in, if not the same, pretty close to the same rate in that ballpark. Those guys are weathered coaches now. They know what they're doing, and if you can get them to play a certain way and within a system and get them to buy into what you're doing, anything can happen. But if you want to be that team that knocks Hermantown off their perch, then do it. You prove it. Yeah, let's see it. All right, good stuff. Hit the like button there. We're going to get into our preview section here. So our preview section is brought to you by our friends over at Iron Range Apparel. Black Friday's coming up. It's time to get out for Black Friday deals, get your shopping done. Christmas is coming, Thanksgiving, all that good stuff. So if you're looking for ODR swag, that's the place you go in the Thunderbird Mall in Virginia. As always, I call it the gift buyer's paradise. It's a little bit for everybody, all ages, boy, girl, man, woman. You can find a gift over there at Iron Range Apparel. The Richters have it going on. And like I said, of course, all the ODR swag. You're going to be going back to the rink with all this high school hockey. You want to look good when you're there. So go check out Iron Range Apparel in the Thunderbird Mall over in
Virginia. All right. So like I said, a week from today, boys season officially gets thumping. Only 2 games on the docket, and one of them is going to be right here in Grand Rapids. The Chisholm Hibbing Blue Jackets will be facing the Grand Rapids Thunderhawks. What are you expecting besides a pretty full house?
Well, I guess that's what I was going to say. I think, first of all, we're going to expect a full house here at the Yanmar Arena. I've got to name it the right way. Otherwise, I'm going to get darts thrown at me in the community. It's very hard for me, and I hope Yanmar understands that. It's going to be hard for a lot of people to do that. But again, from the people in our community here, thank you for doing what you do and buying those rights and creating more opportunities for kids to play hockey. That it's good. But you have to understand, it's gonna be difficult for people not to say the IRA Civic Center. It's still gonna come out. But Yanmar, we're gonna be opening the grand opening of the new Yanmar name, as well as a ribbon cutting of the new renovated facility. So you're going to see it. We're getting it ready for that game. The banners are up. The new ads are up on the boards. We're working on hopefully getting, the Yanmar stuff put where it needs to be for sure on the ice right now.
Yep.
They've got that there, and there's going to be a full crowd. And of course, there's the personal situation there too. Coach Clapton used to coach at Hibbing, friends with everybody there as well. And there's going to be a lot of people in the building for that game. Just a Rapids boy now as the new head coach in Rapids, friends with all of the staff in Hibbing and friends with a lot of parents and whatnot of former players over there. Everybody's coming over to say, hey, here's your first game as a Rapids head coach. Here is the old team you used to coach for. Here is 2,500 to 3,000 people in the building. And there's going to be a lot of media in the building too. Of course, there's going to be Minnesota Hockey TV is going to be there. Care 11 is going to be up calling that game. My 9 is going to be there. I'm going to be on the call with My 9 and Bob Cohn. And of course, you got KOCY there as well with Sheldon. There's going to be a lot of people there and a lot of opportunities to stream
And
this
video probably too. So yeah, there's no excuse to miss this one, right?
No, you can't miss it. It's going to be all over. And there's going to be a lot of people. It's going to be a lot of excitement in the building. People ready for hockey season on the Iron Range.
That's awesome. So yeah, I'm interested to see, like, talk about that sophomore group, just kind of see, who Coach Rewerts has on the squad here on opening night, and just kind of see
sophomore and ninth grader, as far as I hear, is the Strukel player is coming up early for Bantams. Probably one of their top D.
Yeah. So be interesting to see. All right. Good luck to both squads there. All right, scores and more presented by our friends over at Aspire Heating and Control, your local Bryant dealer and the official heating and cooling company of your Minnesota Wild, specializing in gas, electric, and hydronic heating and cooling systems for existing and new construction, residential and commercial installations available. Their services include forced air systems, boilers, heat pumps, mini splits. They are, of course, licensed and bonded. So if you're having any, of course, we've had some nice weather here lately in the 50s, but the cold will comes. If you have any trouble with the furnace, these are the people you call. Give Justin a call. 218-999-5957, 218-999-5957. And like I said, Justin and Aspire Heating and Control will get you all taken care of. All right. Carson Pilgrim, big signing. If you remember, if anybody watched the state tournament last year, they should remember that name.
Yeah, I think you probably would know that name if you know anything. And of course, there's been a tough summer for Carson Pilgrim as well. He lost a stepfather this summer. Real emotional situation with that. No need to get in any details, but lost a stepfather this summer. Had a really awesome year last year. Emotional coming into the year this year. Signs his letter of intent for North Dakota, and really something cool to look forward to up in Warroad as Hockey Day in Minnesota this year.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm flirting with the idea of going up for the Rosa World alumni game. I've contacted a few people on both sides, and they're like, no, that guy's our age. I'm like, oh, you play? It's like, no, we're not getting picked. Like, this is going to be like what the sounds of it. So throw down intense, like, it's Warroad Rosa. It doesn't matter. It's an alumni game. I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, there's no 40-year-olds making this team, right? Like, holy cow. So, all right. Speaking of anything?
Well, I was just going to throw, there's a couple of, opportunities to watch hockey this weekend. No teams are playing until the opening night on Wednesday for games, but there are teams that have scrimmages this weekend as well too, in the area. I know that Friday night we will have some scrimmages here in Grand Rapids. Bemidji will come 5:30 to 7:30 in scrimmage in Grand Rapids. Then on Saturday afternoon, St. Thomas Academy will be here scrimmage in Grand Rapids. But then there's a scrimmage fest going on over in Rock Ridge too on Saturday, starting in the morning with Cambridge there, Greenway, East Ridge, Hibbing, Princeton.
Wow. Okay.
So a nice lineup.
Yeah.
Again, one of the things that I used to run when I was coaching in Virginia was a scrimmage fest on that day, and they've kept that going. So got some different teams in it, but a definite lineup there. So if you're looking for games to watch in the area, not games but scrimmages, you'll get a chance to see some pretty good competition going on over the weekend.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah. So you need your hockey fix. Show up in Grand Rapids or over in Virginia. All right. Many of you have probably heard of Katie Johnson by now. She was the one in the car accident. There's going to be a week from today, November 22nd, there's going to be a fundraiser over at the HIP. So here's kind of the details. So on Wednesday, November 22nd, starting at 6 p.m., there will be benefit hockey games at the HIP for Katie Johnson and her family. Katie was recently involved in that car incident. Sounds like she hit a moose, or her boyfriend hit a moose.
Yep.
There on Highway 53. It's left her temporarily paralyzed from the chest down. Katie's already had a couple of surgeries. And then to help in her recovery, they're going to head out to Colorado next week to embark on the next phase of her recovery and rehabilitation. Katie's a junior at Rockridge High School, a member of the varsity hockey and softball teams. The benefit will consist of 3 games. First at 6 p.m., the game will be Eveleth, Gilbert area, and Rockridge girls alumni. Second game, the games will be 2 20-minute running time halves, and then between the halves, the Rockridge 8U and 10U girls will play a short game. The second game will feature the Iron Range Warriors versus Frank's Taxidermy.
Ooh.
So a lot of the guys we know will be hitting the ice. This game will be around 7:15. And between the let me see. Again, the Rockridge Mini Mites will play in between halftime of that game. Then the last game of the evening at approximately 8:30 will feature alumni from Eveleth, Gilbert, Virginia, MIB, as well as other range schools. There will be a chuck a puck at halftime during that game. While the games are going on, there will be a silent auction as well as basket raffles up in the lobby. Pizza, courtesy of Snickers Pizza of Eveleth, will be sold along with pop and water during the event. There will also be a huge split the pot. Admission is free to all. They will be taking at-will donations, and 100% of the proceeds will go directly to Katie and her family. People who may want to help but can't attend the event, there's a GoFundMe set up on behalf of Katie Johnson by Nancy Kwiatkowski. Sorry, put in the comments how to pronounce it. There's also an account set up for Katie at the First National Bank of Gilbert titled the Katie Johnson Benefit Fund. So you're all welcome to the Hippodrome next Wednesday night to support Katie and her family as she recovers from these injuries. So November 22nd, the same night as the Hibbing Rapids game. But if you're over in that area, go out and help Katie. I know her dad. He still plays men's league. Really good guy, really good family.
Lyle.
So, yep, Lyle. So we're
He
wishing.
was on my golf team a couple of years
Really?
back. Yeah.
Little guy.
Well, yeah, real little. He's enormous. He played. He's a guy that when he swings his golf club, he needs a 10-foot 2x4. He's a big dude. Good guy. Good, yeah. Really good family.
Yeah, very good family. So go out and support Katie. And
so that's at the Hippodrome.
That's at the Hip. Everything's right at the Hip. Right at the Hip. Three games
at the Hip.
Yeah, 3 games with little kids playing in between. Like I said, split the pot, chuck a puck, the whole deal. So you can go spend the night, have some Snickers pizza. They'll take care of you on Friday night. All right, as we continue on scores and more. Hunter Shepard, you're talking about, Rapids goaltender. So as of the other night,
2-0, right?
Yeah, 2-0 in the NHL. And reason I wanted to bring him up real quick, kids, and I'll turn it over to Reed, but this is a guy, 28 years old, just never gives up. Okay. It's rare for a player to make their debut at 28 years old. I think the average age of NHL players is like 23 or 24. So he's 28. I see him in the summers working out like a madman, doesn't have special gym, goes right to Anytime Fitness in Grand Rapids. There he is, just working like a madman. Like I said, never gave up, still has the drive, still has the passion. Like I said, 2-0 for the Washington Capitals. Couldn't be more happy. speaking of happy birthday to Shep last week, but just kind of an incredible story. I mean, national titles, Calder Cup, and this is a guy that started in the North American Hockey League too. It's not like he was like drafting in the USHL and just went, boom.
No, it's a fantastic story when you talk about Shep. It's this is a guy that we will at some point in time, stay tuned. We will have him on as an interview at some point in time. Just a matter, we had him on the docket last summer to come and something came up and we didn't get to have him, and we'll get him on as an interview sometime so that you guys can meet the real Hunter. It's pretty cool because I retweeted his interview after his debut in the NHL and his first win in the NHL. And it's classic Hunter. It's so cool, calm and collected. It's like, it's nice and easy, never too high, he's the typical goalie personality, right?
Well, mom wasn't that way that night.
No, mom was pretty excited.
Yeah.
Mom was pretty excited. Dad was pretty nervous. They sat together for 3 seconds, and that was when, they had the interview on TV.
On national TV, yeah.
Mom says, "Get over here. They're going to interview us." And he sat there for a couple seconds. And as they were sitting there next to each other, the Capitals scored. but then he went back to where he usually goes, and he usually sits right behind Hunter, behind the glass someplace where he can watch and stand behind his son. And which is like you said, what an awesome story. I got to know him fairly well early on in his playing career. First of all, I remember back when their Pee Wee team made it to a state tournament. They made it, and we hosted it down in Wilmer when I was the coach down at Wilmer. We hosted it, and that Rapids Pee Wee A team came down, and Hunter was on the team, and Jake Bischoff was on the team, and Reed Holm was on the team. There's a load of those. Avery. Well, and he might have been younger, but he could have been there. I can't remember 100%, but I got to know him a little bit there. He was a little shaver as a Pee Wee. And then as I was coaching in Virginia, then he was on the team there in 13 and 14 when I was the coach in Virginia, and got to know him there. And then his senior year, actually, he played in the end of the year grade 8 tournament. And I was the coach of the section 17 that year. So I got to coach him there that one time. And then of course, like you talked about, he went off after high school, played a couple of years in the North American League, lit it up for the Bismarck Bobcats, which is personal for me because that's where I played my juniors, was in Bismarck, and then found himself playing at UMD. And you guys know the story at UMD. It was 3 national tournaments, I think, and 2 national championships or whatever it was, something like that.
And he was like the Iron Man. Remember, he played all the games. Now there's this, in the NHL, the big thing now is this goalie rotation. There was no goalie rotation
not
for a few years at UMD.
No.
It was Hunter Shepard's net.
Well, and he's an MVP of the Calder Cup last year, winning the Calder Cup American League Hockey
he was
Championship.
the
MVP of the Calder Cup championship team for the Hershey Bears last year. So he's earned every step of the way. Yeah, he's 28 years old, you said? 28 years old, and has put his time in. But, he's gotten 2 starts in the NHL right now, and got 2 wins.
Yeah, 2-0.
And it's pretty cool because I just see a kid that grew up right in Iron Range in Grand Rapids, as a Cohasset boy. And he's getting his win puck and doing a speech, and right after his speech in the locker room, gets a hug from Alex Ovechkin.
Oh, really?
Pretty awesome. Pretty cool.
Hall of Famer. Yeah. So kids, like I said, it's a great story. You just, you can't, heck, I'm still waiting for the call up, what the heck?
Maybe someday.
But no, just never give up on your dream. And like I said, it's a guy that's just kept grinding. And then for those of you going to the North American League, don't think that you can't make it from the North American League. Players make it, obviously. There's another one. Yeah. So congratulations, Shep, on everything, and keep grinding, and best wishes, or maybe just retire at 2-0. What do you think? Huh?
I think he's got more to tank. I think he's got it. I think he's going to get more games, and I think he's going to do a phenomenal job.
That's awesome. All right. Anything else to add to episode 68?
Just get yourself into the rink. Like I said, it doesn't quite feel like it yet because there's no snow on the ground, but that doesn't mean there isn't action going on at your local rink or civic center or arena. There's kids playing. There's now high school hockey going on. There's girls that have been going for a couple of weeks. Shout out to the GRG Lightning girls with their first W here last night over in Bemidji, 3-2 win, I think it was. And
Mark with the game winner, I heard.
Yep. Pretty awesome. But again, there's a lot of hockey going on. Get out there. It's what I like to call the piece of Minnesota that everybody else in the country wished they had, that Minnesota has, and it's the state of hockey.
Totally agree. All right, please comment. We enjoy your comments. Like I said, if we missed anything, throw it in the comments there. Help me with the pronunciation of that woman's name from Evelyn that's running the GoFundMe. Leave a review if you can. Contact us, Goatsportsmediallc@gmail.com. Hammer the follow button we talked about at the top of the show. All right, so find us, Tea with Ms McGill, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and the Musi app. Tea with Ms McGill, T McGill on Twitter, just T McGill, and find us under Goat Sports Media LLC on YouTube and Facebook. Merch, of course, shirts always in the back, $20. We can get you a shirt, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, etc. Like I said, if you'd like to advertise on the show, just give us an email. And thanks to the greatest partners on earth, the Ring Sports Bar and Grill, Iron Range Apparel, and ODR Apparel, Aspire Heating and Control, Iron Range Goalie Academy, Elite Hockey. So for Reed Larson, I am Puka. Get out there and be your dream. You're tuned to the Tea with Ms McGill Show.